This episode of the Golf Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100 to get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions do apply. And we're also brought to you by the NBA Gambling Podcast MLK Day Bingo Boards. $100 gift card for every bingo hit. Details exclusively on the SGPN app. All right, D-Gens, welcome back for what I think will be a very brief touch upon for the Amex. I'm pretty sure all the air is going to get filled from Steve doing cartwheels, touting his New York Giants. Ridiculous victory today. Steve, 1-100. How excited are you, buddy?
I mean, I'm about an idea, but we got 3 courses this week. Do you think I won't talk for an hour tonight about each one?
No, we're definitely not doing that.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, I've been doing the solo. I've been doing the previous show solo, so you can just exit, by the way, if you really get sick about this stuff. I am doing awesome. Big Blue Nation, baby. It almost seemed like Daniel Jones knew there was 80 million guaranteed on the line. And that was, by the way, I put that in our Discord. I had that thought earlier because he was playing so good. I didn't want to actually put that in the open because I didn't want to mush anything. But it really seemed like he knew that I could get a $120 million contract tonight if I played great.
Yep.
And he played awesome.
He
played
amazing.
So good. I am really happy about what happened. I thought he was awesome. I thought coaching, the play calling was really good. Our defense got lit up, but that kind of happens with our defense because, it's Wink Martindale. He just blitzes all the time. Minnesota did a good job, kind of checking down everything. But at the end of the day, the better team won. The better coach team won. I am ecstatic. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, it was impressive. It was a great Jones.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. It was excellent, dude. Did it with his legs, did it with his arm. But you said your defense got burned, but you guys kept Jefferson in check in that second half, man.
They did. It helped that we got Dory Jackson back. We had Xavier McKinney back from the ATV injury. That helped too. If I was not a Giants fan, I would have slammed all the TJ Hawkinson props, and that would have hit every single place.
Oh, he was a monster out there.
He was, because for the 10th year in a row, we don't have any linebackers. So, but this is great. Now
no complaining today. There's no complaining.
No, of course not.
No complaining.
Listen, everything into this game was basically playing with house money. We were supposed to be terrible. This is a rebuilding year for us. And the fact that Brian Daboll could squeeze all of that out of this team when our best receiver is a guy that got cut from the Bills, basically. And we have an $80 million sunk cost receiver basically blocking.
Hey, that was a great block.
It was a great block.
Block.
He should get an endorsement from IHOP, at this point, although he's got enough money, so he probably doesn't need it. But great game today. My life flashed before my eyes when Kayvon Thibodeau was on the turf, but he proved to be okay. Listen, a couple of my bets didn't really pan out for the Giants game. I'm sorry that they were just way too efficient today, that they didn't sell for field goals or, Kirk Cousins, he almost threw a pick. I thought I cashed that for
I started to hit
the ground. But listen, we move on to Philadelphia. I may go to the game next weekend. We will see.
Hell yeah.
I am working on logistics right now for it. But otherwise, though, it is everything gravy.
What do you think that line's going to open at?
For the Eagles?
Yeah.
Probably 7.5 is my guess.
Ooh.
I do. So? Giants are playing good. Eagles have not been very good for the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to put it 7.5, maybe 8.5 is my guess.
I like that. I think I'll take the Giants on that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I like
we'll
the
see what happens.
I like the scrappy underdog teams next weekend.
We have the coaching advantage. Daboll over Sirianni.
Yeah, I'd take that all day.
It's no question. Now, the Eagles have had our number in the playoffs. I think back in 2000, the year after we beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, we played the Eagles in the divisional round. They beat us then. couple years before that, the Eagles beat us there. So they have our number in the playoffs. They also have our number whenever I show up at the link. So maybe I shouldn't.
So maybe you shouldn't go.
But we'll see. I mean, like ticket prices right now, we're looking at the ticket prices. They're pretty high.
It's a
playoff game. But we'll see. We will see what happens. But otherwise, though, everything's good. I think the only question comes down right now. I'm wondering if you're going to ask this question is if my opinion has changed and if we should sign Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think you should. I said it last week. Dude, look at that performance. Look at what good coaching can do, man.
He played good. I think this upped my price of what I would be willing to pay him guaranteed. Now, do I think we're going to win the Super Bowl with him? No, I don't. Do we think we have the upside of like a Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill when we can make an AFC championship, see what happens, make a Super Bowl, or like the 49ers? I think we can do that.
Yeah.
Do I think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
Bro, Eli Manning won fucking Super Bowls. Okay. Come on.
I am more willing, I think, at this point, after tonight's, which is dangerous, by the way, because I'm just on a high right now. Like we saw what happened with Derek Carr last year, where he almost beat the Bengals, and then he got like $100 million guaranteed, and now he's not going to be on the team right now.
No.
So it's very dangerous. I think. Look, I think the Giants at this point, they probably had to extend him. I'm worried that somebody will give him a huge contract and it's going to be too much for the Giants at that point.
Who's get?
But
I don't know. Yeah, it only takes.
There's a lot of desperate teams.
Yeah, it only takes.
I mean, he was very good today.
Oh, he was great today. He was great, man.
I mean, with his legs, very accurate with the ball. I mean, now I still think a lot of that is coaching. But
it's definitely coaching. That's what I'm saying. I mean, look at the difference between Josh Allen's dumbass today. Fucking poor decision making all over the fucking place.
Do we want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. I can't believe.
God, they suck. God, they were bad. Here's my.
They're gonna lose. Jacksonville's going to win.
All right. Well, here's my theory. So Josh Allen got rocked in the first quarter after a run like near. I think he ran to like the 10. I think he got a concussion.
Yeah.
On that play because he was awful for about 2 quarters.
Yeah.
Then maybe he kind of like cleared like the Cowboys and everything. He was good in the fourth quarter, but like, man, like it reminded me a lot of when Pat Mahomes got rocked when they were up 21-0 last year against the Bengals, and he was terrible for the rest of the game. It reminded me a lot of that, like some of the throws he was making. I remember Romo. It was an option play. And Romo commented, well, Allen was supposed to keep it. He didn't. He forgot. Well, I mean, he forgot, baby. Hello.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe.
So, I mean,
rewatch the tape and see.
I mean, he got rocked by a couple guys, and I would not be surprised if they hid that. Just keep him in the game. Now, it worked out for them. It was great. But it's looking like right now they're probably going to play the Bengals in Buffalo next weekend. Which would be fitting.
Right, Bengals, yeah.
Yeah, it would be fitting because that game got canceled. Fate intervenes. They'll probably bring DeMar Hamlin to the game. We will see. And then, I mean, I don't know. Jacksonville's frisky.
Yeah, dude. Listen, the confidence that they must have after that just horrific fucking first half. I mean,
Have you shared the screenshot on Twitter? Like, and is that going to draw a lot of ire to me right now?
No, I don't do it.
When I said the game was over, I'm going to bed, and then my kids started crying about 11:30. I woke up and I saw it was 30-28, and the Jaguars were driving. I'm sorry, Charger fans. I mushed you guys. I'm sorry. Call me the Andercus. I ain't Andercus.
Staley, man. I can't believe he still has a job right now as we're talking.
Oh, they'll probably reevaluate on Monday.
He should have been gone. They should have left his ass at Jacksonville.
He's going to get fired. Him and Lombardi are getting fired. For sure. I mean, that was – so I had Jacksonville money line in that game. It just seemed like between the Chargers' futility just to fail and just karma – for playing your starters in week 18
and getting one of them hurt.
It just seemed like at that point it was just destined. for Jacksonville to win.
Dude, some of my group chats with all my buddies who are like lifelong Jags fans, and fucking like the misery these poor pricks were going through in the first half. It was so bad. Tommy left my house at halftime.
Probably went to bed like me.
No. He stayed up and watched it. A lot of so I had one birthday party today. That's why I didn't have the volume for any of the Bill shit. I was at this place called Main Event. It's like video games and bowling and all this shit for one of my daughter's birthdays. And then yesterday was another daughter's birthday party. And so my 19-year-old was like, "You still have a whole second half, Uncle Tommy. It'll be fine."
Oh yeah, and it turned out to be okay.
It turned out to be okay.
Yeah, because she knew that Brandon Staley was a stooge, and that the co-host of the Golf Killing podcast just mushed it completely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, everybody thought it was fucking over.
But then you started going down, plus 19 and a half, plus 17 and a half.
Yeah.
Good job, you, buddy.
Yeah, well, good. I gave fucking most of it back today, like always.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I told you that's the best. I'm sorry the Giants were so efficient.
Well,
my apologies.
What are you gonna do? The only thing I took that I wouldn't have taken is the stupid field goal bet. I always take Kirk Cousins for a fucking interception. Always. That's what I mean.
He almost did it.
I know.
It barely hit the ground.
I know.
So the good thing was, so I started jumping up and down. So with the toddler, something can go either way. Like either you see, sometimes you see a parent get really excited, they get upset.
Yeah.
My kid just started laughing hysterically and wanted to jump with me. So
that's right.
Things were good today.
That's right.
Things were good. So
good fucking day. Siwoo hit. We were on him. He wasn't even on my fucking radar, man. So like I can't even get mad about it.
So he was on my radar, but I was just stubborn to the lean that anyone who played last week was going to win.
Me too.
So, well, he fit. So he's been a really accurate driver of the golf ball. Like I think only in his past 25 starts, he's only lost strokes to the field and fairways gained 3 of them.
Yeah.
So that theory hit.
Yeah.
As far as the rest of my card, Sung Jae missed the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Mitchell played really badly on Thursday, played great on Friday, but didn't matter at that point.
Yeah, it's too late.
Who else on my card? I forget. Billy Horschel was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Harmon didn't come through.
Nope.
And then I cost myself by doing the top 20 Tom Kim, which was terrible. The paying juice for top 40 with Keith Mitchell. But if I just stuck to the regular programming, Ben Taylor top 40 plus 270.
Yeah.
Brendan Todd plus top 40 plus 130. Hayden Buckley, who I called the poor man's Keith Mitchell, and almost won the fucking tournament, plus 125. Ryan Armour could have a chance if he didn't screw up the last hole on the easiest hole on the PGA Tour. God, that was rough.
So bad.
So I think going into this week, unless your name is Rory McIlroy or John Rahm, I am done doing paying juice for positionals. I need you to hold me to that. I need you to electrocute me anytime I will do that and going forward. And just stick with the programming. I'm not dissuaded by not going past 50 to 1, 60 to 1, because I think Siwoo is about 50 to 1 this week.
I saw a lot of 40, 45s out there.
Yeah. So again,
that's why I picked Cage Lee over him. Dude, I targeted him in a matchup with Cage Lee. Good call, asshole.
Yeah. Listen, that section of the board's hitting. So if this was in the middle of the summer, maybe Siwoo ends up my betting card just because that's where I'm looking at. But this is not, I think we're going to continue what happened last year. I think for outrights, if you're paying over 60 to 1, either you can squeeze it in your card just based on structure, but I think the talent gap between the guys really at the top and the guys that are 60, 70 to 1 in normal times, if we had Liv, all those guys in, I think they'd be 100. I think they're bad prices at that point.
Yeah.
I think you just, as a philosophy, just keep targeting that range. Even if it doesn't hit, if you miss out on a guy 100 to 1, just keep going, going. That's where the range is going to be. And then focus on fundamentals as far as guys who fit the course, which, listen, Siwoo fit the course this week as far as what I said. Accurate driver of the golf ball. He drove it pretty well this week.
He played well.
But, there was that dumb narrative that I was a slave to that anyone played Kapalua. But next week, we're going to have to worry about it. A lot of guys who are going to play PJ West next week Played at least once in the last 2 weeks. Never to worry about it.
Yeah.
Just freewheel it right now, and we'll see what happens.
All right, well, listen, we'll break down the course here in a second, but WynnBET is the official online sports book of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there's tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays. The NFL playoffs are here. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WynnBET. So if you're ready to play, sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100 and get $100. Limited to state availability. There's so much to choose from, and all you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offer is subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 and older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And I mentioned off the top, the NBA Gambling Podcast is doing a special basketball bingo giveaway for all the games happening tomorrow on MLK Day. All you have to do is subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube page and then click the sign up link in the app. Get all the links exclusively on the SGPN app. That is one sport that I think I've tried betting a handful of times. And by I say tried, like just texting Moon off, like, hey, what can I bet tonight? I don't bet the NBA, like ever. And I bet pretty much everything. I don't know. I don't trust it. You're on mute. Mute. You're on mute.
My apologies. It's golf and NFL for me. So
yeah.
Can I say one thing, by the way? Because I notice sometimes with all the shows we kind of gloss over the gambling addiction line right there. If you are somebody who might be struggling with that right now, take it seriously. Don't have any shame about it. Listen, gambling's supposed to be fun, and bet responsibly. So, listen, I know we're a gambling show. I know it's kind of hypocritical for me to say this right now, but if you're struggling with it,
say gamble responsibly.
Yeah, gamble. I mean, like, isn't that what we should be doing right now? We should be advocating that right now.
Yeah, okay. I agree. That's what I'm agreeing with you.
I mean, the look on your face right now say like, "Hey, why are you saying this?" And I'm hurting our brand.
No, I just feel attacked. That's all.
Why do you feel attacked right now?
Because I don't always gamble responsibly.
Okay. Well, if you're somebody that is struggling right now, like you're worrying about, paying your bookie, everything like that, it's okay to sit one out. So gambling's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be stressful, cause you lose sleep. So I think as a network, sometimes we gloss over that line. I know a lot of people just kind of speed through it. It's important. So if you're somebody who's struggling, it's okay. Sit one out, get help.
Gotcha. All right, man. So
okay.
so Amex, huh?
Yeah, Amex. Let's gamble on this shit.
I can't wait to see all my stupid first round leaders fucking chopped.
Yeah, I mean,
I hate
hey,
listen, I hate
you are 2 for 2 on first and leaders, just getting it chopped to oblivion.
Chop to oblivion.
Unbelievable. Spieth went from first and leader to cut. He played awful on Friday. He was terrible.
What was that? Like I wasn't even paying attention. Like I was running around doing errands and I was listening to the car, and I was like in Publix and came out. And they're like, Spieth needs to get off this bogey train. I was like, he needs to do fucking what now?
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean he's got fucking 4 bogeys?
I didn't even know there was water on 9. I had no idea there was that canal there because it's an automatic birdie, that hole. And he soon starts listening, like, all right, maybe he's in the palm trees. I didn't know it was going to find water at that point. Wow. So
bad.
That was really bad.
He's going to be hard to trust, man. Like that's tough. He's hard to trust in the first place anyway.
It is.
Like, never mind a debacle like that.
I mean, for his MO for the last 6 months has been his putter has gone away from him. Yeah. Everything got away from him.
Everything, exactly.
Everything.
Irons, fucking everything.
All right. Well, we don't have to worry about him in the field this week.
Nope. Stacked field this week, huh?
Actually, a really good field.
Yeah. Stacked.
So it seems like, it's kind of going to be hit or miss as far as like when you have these non-elevated events, who's going to show up, who doesn't. It seems like American Express kind of went to a lot of these guys like, hey, look, like
we gave you guys the black. We gave you guys the black card. Show the fuck up at the event.
Exactly. And it seems like we have a lot of those guys. Obviously John Rahm is going to show up, past defending, champion here.
Yeah.
Has been really critical of this tournament, by the way. Says it's basically a birdie fest. I think this is the one he's complained last year. Like, listen, good ball strength doesn't really matter. Yeah. But Amex is still paying him under the table, so he's showing up. Xander is technically in the field still. We'll see if that actually sticks. I don't know, man. It depends on how his back's doing.
Great.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, Matt Gannon, our columnist for Sports Gaming Podcast, he puts out a great column with some quotes from all the players.
Yeah, dude, I read that this past week. That's a really good. I really enjoyed that column.
He does. He does a really good job of that. So, probably something to kind of keep in mind. I'm sure he's going to put a Xander quote. Probably listen to the press conference. I'm not one for a press conference quote, but as I've read the column, and he does a good job picking out the important stuff and what isn't. It's probably going to be important to listen to Xander this week, see how he's feeling. Yeah. Because, anytime you get to one of these multi-course tournaments, kind of like we see, this week, and, some of them value certain things and not. You kind of want like a really good all-around player, and Xander is basically it. So if he's healthy, this would be a great fit for him, even though he, his last 2 trips here back in 2016, 2017, he got cut, but a guy like that should be pretty good, but if his back's not doing well, it's great. But it's not good. But listen, besides him, if he withdraws, you got Sam Burns, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Sungjae Im, Tom Kim, 2 guys who were pretty disappointing at the Sony. That was nuts for me. My betting card. Scheffler is going to play. He finished 3rd here a couple of years ago. Cam Young, who, by the way, is in the Saudi field. You never
responded. I know. I didn't want to. I didn't want to acknowledge it.
What the hell is that about?
I don't know, man. One doesn't equal the other. Other guys have gone over there. Didn't Billy Horschel used to play in the Saudi thing?
No, Horschel never went over. He got rumored to be going to live, but I know Cam Young had those rumors about live.
Yeah, last year.
And then he stayed, and now he's like, I scanned through that list, and it's Cam Young, Cam Champ, by the way, which is perfect to go to live, by the way.
Yeah, please God, just take him. So
just go. Just go. You're fine. Your boy, the ear, Lucas Herbert, he's going to play over in Saudi. That would not surprise me.
He's played over there, though.
He has. That wouldn't surprise me.
And he's Australian. Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me if he goes.
No, me either.
But Cam Young, I think, is the big surprise going to play in that live. Well, it's not live. It's the Asian Tour event, but it's basically a live tournament.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then I think there's 8 reserve spots. I'm going to assume those are for PGA Tour guys or maybe awaiting their waiver. So Xander could potentially be one of those guys.
Xander's played over there a bunch, right?
He has played there twice, I think.
No.
So we'll see. Yeah, that's going to be interesting in about a month. But anyways, so Cam Young's playing. Will Zalatoris, he's playing there too.
Well, he looked healthy when he played. So
he did. He looked pretty good. So good field this week at the American Express.
They can't have everybody fucking under 30 to 1. They gotta spread it out a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. What I'm interested in seeing is is Sungjae gonna maybe drift because he was so bad? He's been very good at the at PGA West. So if he has a 3 in front of his name, I don't think he will. I think he'll have probably 25 to 1. That could be interesting though. So
I don't know. Do you still trust him? It wasn't.
I don't. At this point, maybe I've been overrating him a little bit. I think the problem with Sungjae is I've been blowing past, and when looking at his profile last 2 weeks, I bet him at Cap Blue. I bet him this week. His proximity numbers from under 150 are really bad, but his scoring numbers, because he's such usually a good putter, is really good. Now that also could be kind of a mix of what tournaments he's been playing in. But the fact that the last 2 weeks where kind of wedge play has been pretty important, I've been betting him, and I've been blowing past his bad proximity numbers in those ranges. And this week, and we'll talk about it a little bit, I think that's important once again. Maybe that's someone I shy away from, even though he has been pretty good at this event in the past.
Yeah. So what's the course rotation again? I can never fucking.
All right. So
they played the stadium one.
Yeah. So we're going back to 2 years ago in the COVID year. It was just La Quinta and Nicklaus tournament. Right. Because they want to keep everybody there. Last year they returned it to the regular rotation. It's going to be the same thing this year. So it's going to be 2 rounds of the stadium course, which is Pete Dye design, opened in 1986. Basically a sequel to TBC Sawgrass.
See, this is the week I would have bet Sibu. Like this, but now you
Right.
can't bet zero.
Well,
You know what
I mean, he won here and cashed us 70-1 a couple of
Yeah, I
years
know.
ago, so that would have been
It's
perfect.
true. It's very true. Yeah.
But so we're doing 2 rounds there. We're doing 1 round at Nicholas Tournament, which is on the same property. It's basically across the street from the stadium course. And then you got La Quinta, which is up north, couple miles from
That's the one with no that one has no shot link, no fucking
well,
nothing, right?
Nicholas Tournament doesn't have shot link,
Doesn't either.
and La Quinta doesn't have shot link. So you only got 2 rounds this week with shot link. So that's the problem. Like a lot of my preview column that I came up with is I tried to give you as much information as I could from Nicholas Tournament and La Quinta.
Yeah.
Most of the actual scoring data and difficulty is only from stadium course.
Yeah.
But I will explain in this preview a little later. If I stop rambling and be a drunk idiot like I am right now. Some things I'm looking for with those tournaments. So why don't we start with the stadium course real quick? So I'll give a brief description of each one, and then we'll take another break, and we'll go over betting strategies because there's a lot to cover there.
We actually don't need to take another break. I already took care of all the housekeeping early.
Oh, we don't have to take a break. All right,
Nope,
perfect.
you can just keep rambling like a drunken idiot.
Keep rolling right now. You go take a smoke break, and I'll just keep rolling right now.
Oh, I'm definitely making a drink break. This is my first drink. This is my first drink of the night, man.
All right. So 2 rounds are at the stadium course. So basically that was created in 1986 by Pete Dye, legendary architect. I don't really need to go into his design philosophy. It was basically built as a sequel to TPC Sawgrass. So they first played this course back in 1987, but the Snowflakes and shout out Patrick Cantlay, Pampered Fucks of the PGA Tour back then said it was too hard. So they stopped going to the stadium course. It was just there for basically members and resort guests. Had a couple redesigns, and eventually they came back here in 2016. And it's after the redesigns, it definitely neutered the golf course a lot more than what it was. It's still technically the hardest golf course of the rotation. I'll get to that in a little bit. I say hardest in quotes because these guys still rip it up. But of the 3 golf courses, it is the most difficult. You see a lot of Pete Dye concepts with the stadium course. A lot of forced layups, a lot of kind of, shots where you have to hit a 3-wood. Otherwise, you're taking on too much risk, or there just really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to take a driver because you'll just end up in the rough. A lot of shots, a lot of holes, especially on the par 4s where the green is angled away from the direction of the fairway. So you kind of got to aim towards the right, the correct side of the fairway. Otherwise, you're going to be carrying a bunker. A lot of the same principles as you kind of see at TPC Sawgrass. And there's a couple holes that kind of look like Sawgrass. The 5th is Sawgrass.
17's like identical, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to get to that. But yes, the 5th is Sawgrass and the 9th, the same course. They look basically the same. The 10th and 12th. 10th is Sawgrass, 12th, the same course, the same. But the most blatant ripoff, and that's kind of how I'm going to describe this place, is it's essentially Disneyland to Disney World.
Okay.
Is the 17th hole. Blatant ripoff. Pretty much the exact same hole. The 17th at the stadium course is a little longer. What is it, Sawgrass? The only real difference is the 17th hole. So they're both island greens, shortish par 3s. Sawgrass is held together by railroad ties. The 17th, the same course, held in rock crappings. That's where you get the description. That's Alcatraz.
Yeah.
It's the same course. That's the nickname. Both of them were prone to blow-ups. I posted a video in my column this week of basically how guys just screw up there. A lot of times where they kind of hit a little bit of an offline shot and it just ends up nestled next to the rocks, and then they screw up from there. Now, the funny thing, though, is I think back in 2016 when Duffner won, I think he ended up right near the rocks and he hit a miraculous chip, to basically get him down the tournament. But, I think David Lingmerth basically hit a chip, it hit a rock and bounced back into the water. Like, pretty much if you're against the rocks, it's a penalty shot. And there's water all around. I know we saw Danny Lee, I think last year, he hit a rock and bounced over to land. So he could theoretically get up and down for 40 yards. He kept hitting it again in the water. He took like a 9 in the hole. So there's a lot of that on that golf course. There's also the canyon bunker right next to the par 5 16.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
which
that
is 18 feet deep.
Didn't Higgs hit like a crazy shot out of there last year?
Possibly. I don't know. I posted a video though of poor Arnold Palmer. They laid him out on this video. He took like 3 to get out of there back in 1996. Really? Yeah, really disrespectful to him. But you see a bunch of amateurs, they try to get out of there. Like for a lot of these pros, they might not hit a great shot. They can get up and down from out of there. Amateurs, though, and that's kind of the problem with this golf course is like a lot of the difficulties kind of manufactured. Like the bunker, for instance. Like there's no reason that should actually be there. It's really just for show. It's a gimmick. Right. And while the pros can get up and down from it, like if you're an amateur like you and me, we're basically tossing our ball back into the green at that point. Like there's no, I
just want out. Yeah, I just want out.
There's no point. So, like, is the stadium course like as a sequel to TPC Soccer as a great golf course? I would say no.
No.
It could have been back in 1986 when Dye actually designed it. Maybe. But they took a lot of the teeth out of it, and they kind of left with a lot of these, like, you can see the Dye characteristics to it, like I described. But I mean, it's a whatever golf course, and I'll get into like some of the areas where it still kind of plays like a Dye when we get to betting strategies. But overall, it's whatever, and I think that's the reason why, like, especially with modern technology, like a lot of guys, back, maybe 10 years ago, where a lot of these forced layups required a driver to get to it. Now these guys are hitting long iron or like 3-wood to get these areas. It's definitely made it a lot easier, a lot less penal than what it used to be. No. I think the average score last year was 70.5, which is basically 1.5 under par. It's still the hardest technically of 3 tournaments or 3 golf courses, but it's whatever.
Was this the one where fucking Knuckle Nuts Seamus like played really well here, then went to La Quinta and just like shat down his leg?
No, that was Pebble. When I held 40-1, he had a 5-shot lead for Friday.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that back. I appreciate that.
No problem, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
All right, so that's the same course. They also play the Nicholas.
Wait, time out. So this is the cut on Saturday?
No, cuts on Sunday. Or no, yeah. After Saturday, then they do the cut.
This is so fucking stupid.
Yeah. All right. So now I actually forgot before I move on. I'm gonna break some news. Not sure this is gonna pick up in a lot of areas, but the same course has been undergoing a renovation for the last basically 1.5 years or so. Yeah. So it's in 2 phases. The first phase is they removed a lot of trees. They removed about 200 trees. Now it's not quite as dramatic what they did at Oak Hill, up in my neck of the woods. I talk about Andy Lag as far as like how that might change the golf course, but they removed a lot of trees to make it a little more wide open off the tee. They also recovered some bushes, some like, some groundwork as far as like, just stuff that got lost over the years. So that's phase 1. Now next year, they're going to renovate the greens, renovate the bunkers. Like that's a major renovation right now. But as far as this year, though, doesn't really do a whole lot for me. Like unlike last week at the Sony, where the material changed. I talk about materiality. I'm an accountant. Where going from 2.25 inch rough Bermuda to 3-inch Bermuda rough kind of changed a little bit how I wanted to bet.
Yeah,
that was hit or miss successful for me. The removal of the trees doesn't really do a whole lot for me, other than the fact that for a lot of these guys, it did create some like landmarks to aim towards off the tee. Now it's a little more wide open, so maybe guys who are a little better off the tee, just more confident with their driver or 3-wood, might have a little bit more advantages because they're just good at it. They don't have an aiming mark, but otherwise, though. This is what I talked about last week where, sometimes there's this change of a golf course where it's material, sometimes it's not. I would say it's immaterial. This is not really impacting a lot about how I'm looking at it. Now, next year, though, when they actually expand the greens and renovate the bunkers, that might be something that might change my handicap. For this year, I wouldn't worry about it, though. So you might hear a little bit about that this week. I don't know if that's going to be picked up a lot. It is more wide open. honestly, I don't really remember the trees really coming into play a whole lot if you missed a fairway anyways from prior years. So it's an interesting note, but it's not going to change really a whole lot of what I look at.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. So there's Nicholas Tournament course. That's across the street. That is essentially a watered down version of the same course. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of Nicholas courses.
What grass is this?
Well, I'll get to that. But this is so it's dormant Bermuda off the fairways, and then it's overseeded in the fairways and the greens.
Okay.
Now, I was gonna get to this, but you brought up early for me.
Yeah.
I noticed in the GCSAA tournament fact sheet that they did not note the greens as overseeded, which I think is an oversight because the weather's really cold. I know that they closed the course back in October, the Nicholas course and the Stadium course for overseeding. In November, the Nicholas course opened back up after the overseeding process. For whatever reason, in the Stadium course didn't open until December, which is weird. Maybe something happened with the overseeding process. Typically, what would happen most years would be the fairways be overseed with some sort of like ryegrass, and the greens overseed with a Poa trivialis, which I'll get to when it's betting strategies as far as like different types of golf courses that have that same green complex. But I do know the Nicholas Tournament course though is that 2 years ago they actually did the same type of renovation process they want to do next year with the same course where. They renovated the greens at the Nicholas Tournament course, because over the years with mowing patterns, the greens just naturally shrink. They expanded the greens. The greens are much bigger at the Nicholas Tournament course. I think they average about 7,100 square feet on average versus about 5,000 square feet for the same course. So bigger greens on the Nicholas Tournament course. Those are Tiff Eagle, that grass, which that can be hit or miss if you really want to overseed it because that is a little more colder tolerant than some other strains of Bermuda. Now, I would guess because of the fact that it gets down to about 30 degrees low in La Quinta, that's not sustainable for healthy growing Bermuda. It doesn't matter if it's tippy or what.
Right.
It's not sustainable for it. So I would imagine they probably overseeded it. I did note when I did scouting of it last year that there's a potential if it's warm enough temperatures, either they could not overseed it or maybe not put the chemicals down to tamper down the Bermuda growth. Maybe they allow it to grow back. Looking at the weather report recently, it's been low 60s highs, 40s, 30s lows. I would imagine it's overseeded, but I've been in contact. I sent an email to my contact GCSAA to confirm it. Maybe that was an oversight on their part. I am going to assume that it's overseeded greens on the Nicholas Tournament course, just like it is at the same course in La Quinta, which I'll get to in a little bit. But the Nicholas Tournament course, essentially what I said was it was basically a watered down version of the same course. A lot of it's very straight in front of you. There's not as many forced layups at the Nicholas Tournament course as there is at the same course. So I feel like it's a little more driver heavy. There still is, you got the mogul mounts kind of good to see with Pete Dye, like it's Sawgrass or the same course. Like, you may mention this, I think, a couple weeks ago when you played Sawgrass, where if you're off the fairway, sometimes you're against like a mound or something. You got those at Nicholas Tournament course too, so you don't really want to miss a fairway, but the fairways are generally pretty wide. Everything's pretty much right in front of you. Don't really want to be in a lot of the fairway bunkers, but you can kind of carry some of those if you're driving it pretty well. There's a reason why that is a little easier scoring than the same course. It's because everything's right in front of you. The greens are a little bigger. Anytime you have an overseeded surface, it tends to be a little softer. That's why it's a little easier. So that's the Nicholas Tournament course. Basically, it's a watered down version of the same course. And then you got La Quinta. That is the oldest golf course of the rotation of the Amex. It was opened in 1959 and was renovated in 1999. It's been part of the American Express since 1972. Again, no shot link data to speak of. But if you just look at it, off the tee, it's a lot tighter sightlines. It's way more tree lined than the same course and the Nicholas Tournament course. But it's completely outdated. pretty much all the bunkers are easily carried off the tee. I think like it takes like a 260-yard carry to carry most bunkers there. You can cut the dog legs. There's a couple water hazards, but otherwise, like this is the course where you have to go low if you want to contend for the Amex. Like if like even like 3 under, 4 under might not cut it at La Quinta. It's a short golf course, not a whole lot of trouble off the tee, not a ton of difficult approach shots, a lot of short approach shots. It's a very easy track. So even though there isn't any shot link data, it's pretty easy for everybody. And I'll get to like there's a relative skill set chart that we can talk about from Data Golf as far as like they took who tends to score better there. We'll get to that, but overall for the tournament, if you don't score very well at La Quinta, you're kind of SOL.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's kind of like Seamus Power last year at Monterey Peninsula, where he was great for 2 rounds and then sucked on the easiest course, and then he was done.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. You don't have the betting strategies, or do you have any questions?
Yeah. No, I got it down pretty much. Betting strategies. I mean, the Saturday cut kind of fucking. I don't know if that really makes a fucking difference. I mean, it definitely came with placements.
It can. I mean, I'm not really.
I completely fucking forgot about the stupid Saturday cut.
It is dumb. I mean, I prefer when it. I mean, I wish they would go back to the COVID year where it would just Stadium Nicholas cut after Friday. You go from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Why? I don't know. Whatever. It is what
all
it
right. All right. So let's get some facts about all 3 golf courses. So they're about the same length. They're all par 72s. All of them have 4 par 5s. All of them reachable. All of them, 4 par 3s. The same course is about 7,180 yards. Nicholas is a little shorter than that, 7,150 yards about. La Quinta is about 7,060 yards. They're short par 72s. Only Pebble Beach, TPC Sawgrass, and Silverado play as shorter par 72s than the PGA Tour. So I think the average length of each par 4 and 5 combined is about 450 yards. Not very difficult.
Okay.
Not very long. Now, the difference is, like I just mentioned, at Stadium Course, some of these holes can play a little longer because of, forced layups. Guys opt to take less than driver off the tee to short of all the trouble, or they just can't physically take a driver or else in a terrible spot. At Nicholas Tournament, pretty much everything's right out in front of you. You can just hit driver all day long. Same thing with La Quinta. Those play very short. So we'll get to some approximate stats as far as you want to look at later, but keep that in mind as far as Stadium Course plays a little longer just because it forces you to kind of take into account about where the trouble is. Nicholas and La Quinta, they're short on the scorecard. They're going to play short for all these guys because you're probably hitting a lot of driver. Let's talk about agronomy, though. That is important. I kind of may mention it earlier that typically from tee to green, because you're in the desert, it gets really cold at night. A lot of these golf courses just, because it cosmetically looks a lot better, they will oversee the tee boxes, the fairways, and the greens. And usually at the Stadium Course in Nicholas Tournament, and definitely La Quinta, I know they do that for a fact there. They will apply, basically they'll oversee the fairways and tee boxes with ryegrass, and the greens are Poetry Realis. Now, I mentioned earlier that Nicholas Tournament course, they have new greens. Those are a Tiff Eagle Bermuda. Those are going to be a little more cold tolerant. I'm going to guess those are probably overseeded. The fact that, the Stadium Course, though, is Tri-Dwarf. That is more of a common Bermuda. Now, when they renovate the greens next year, they might convert it to a Tiff Eagle. I'm going to guess it's overseeded. I'm going to wait till my contact GCSAA can confirm the fact. I know La Quinta is overseeded, so just assume overseeded greens. And there's a lot of golf courses with overseeded greens in the PGA Tour. So let's go down the list. TPC Scottsdale, overseeded with Poetry Realis and ryegrass. TPC Sawgrass, when it was in May, it was all Bermuda. Now back in March, overseeded with Poetry Realis. Innisbrook for the Valspar, overseeded with Poetry Realis. Austin Country Club for the WGC Match Play, overseeded. TPC San Antonio, week for the Masters, overseeded. Harbor Town, overseeded. A lot of people always say Harbor Town is Bermuda. When they play it in April, it's still overseeded. It's not warm enough to sustain the healthy Bermuda growth of there. And TPC Louisiana for the Zurich, which you and I don't give a shit about. No. But in general, they're overseeded greens. So that can make a difference for a lot of these guys. Like there's quotes from like Adam Hadwin, for example, like, Canadian guy hates Bermuda on record saying he does not putt well there, but he loves playing the desert golf because when they oversee these greens, it's more similar to what he was used to growing up, in Canada and everything. It's same with John Rahm. He says that a lot of these greens roll a little truer than if it was a Bermuda.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you get lower scoring. So it makes a difference. So if you want to look at putting stats, I probably would look at those places as far as how these guys, do there. Because, just looking at Bermuda stats, it's not really Bermuda. Poa Trivialis, it tends to be a vertical growing grass. It takes a lot of the grain out. Basically, the process of overseeding a green, you apply a chemical that basically makes the Bermuda dormant and allows Poa to grow up. It rolls differently. So I would look at some of those places. Let's talk about scoring. I mentioned earlier that stadium course, it was, the averages. Well, actually, before I do that, do you have any questions? I know I'm talking a lot.
Keep going, Bubba. No, you're good, man. You're good.
I'm doing surprisingly well considering I'm probably pretty drunk.
Yeah, no, you're definitely drunk. It's a role reversal tonight. I'm on my second drink.
I guess
you're drunk.
All right, let's have a scoring. So back in the 80s, it was too tough. Nowadays, the average score is about 70.5, which is about 1.5 under par. Not a very difficult golf course to play. The par fours at the stadium course play the 5th easiest of all golf courses with at least 5 tournaments held there on the PGA Tour since 2015. Already mentioned that collectively the par fours and fives are pretty short. Where it is tough, probably I would say the par threes. Those tend to be, you have usually most of them have a water hazard, at least, next to the green. They only average about 180 or so yards in length, but the 17th, which is surrounded by water, one of the hardest par threes on the PGA Tour. A lot of blow up holes on that hole. That drives down the yards average, but there's a 195 yard par three on the 13th. The 6 is 223. Both those, require carryover water. The par threes are tough, so you got to hit your irons there. But overall, though, if you navigate those, par fives aren't that all difficult. The par fours are definitely not that difficult either. Not all that difficult to get around. If there is an area where it's difficult as far as strokes gained at the same course. Now, a lot of the handicap, by the way, is only about same course. Obviously the Nicklaus and Tournament course and La Quinta don't have strokes gained. I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to probably shift focus right now as far as stadium course, as far as like describing that as far as difficulty. At the same course, though, if there is a difficult area, it's probably off the tee. You got your classic Pete Dye principles with a lot of that golf course where, the angle of the green is opposite of where the direction of the fairway. So you kind of got to focus on hitting the correct side of the fairway. You get the best angle. If you're not on the correct side of the fairway, you got to carry over a bunker. You might be get to a pin. So, at that golf course, it is important to at least not miss in the wrong area. But on that golf course, though, just because of, there's water hazards. Yeah, there's some of the mogul mounds too. You kind of see on PTI golf courses. But if you're in the rough, as long as you miss on the correct side, the rough is not penal there. It's not like what we saw at Waialae. It's only about 2-inch Bermuda rough that's dormant, very easy to club off of. It's one of the least penal golf courses on the PGA Tour, heading out of the rough of. So as long as, and it's a less than driver golf course too. You're not hitting a lot of drivers there. The average driving distance is, I think, the 6th shortest of all PGA Tour venues since 2015. Did you just crack a drink?
No.
Oh, I heard a little clicking on your end.
No, I'm moving my mouse around. I want to check something while you're talking.
All right. Anyways, it's the where was it? So it's basically it's the 6th shortest average of driving distance of all PGA Tour venues. It's about 280 yards total per drive, which means a lot of forced layups. So a lot of guys are hitting hybrid, 3-wood, long iron, just playing positional golf, kind of plodding around on the stadium course. So the greens are really small at the same course. They only average about 5,000 square feet in the area. But even despite that, the green regulation rate is about 66%. That's a little above PGA Tour average. Anytime you have an overseeded surface, tends to play a little softer than some traditional Bermuda or a baked up Bermuda or Pella or whatever. Just because with an overseeded surface, you got to apply a lot of water to it. Tends to be a little softer. Plus, at the end of the day, these are resort courses, so it has to be playable for all members. So even though the greens are small, 66%, green regulation rate. And there's a lot of shorter approach shots too. A lot of the shorter approach shots under 150, they're some of the easiest in the PGA Tour. Ranks as the 4th easiest in the PGA Tour. It's comparable to like Y-Line, Sedgefield. It's a different story from longer approach shots though. It is the 8th toughest on approach shots from greater 150. Might be due to the fact that it's smaller greens. Might be due to the fact that it's some of the longer par 3s in the PGA Tour with a lot of water on them. There's some potential for some penalties. But it's kind of polar opposite as far as pretty easy approach shots under 150, pretty harder shots over 150. And then putting wise, pretty easy greens to putt on. I mentioned with John Rahm, he said that the greens are a lot truer with the overseed. Some of the easiest greens to putt on under 5 feet, 5 to 15 feet, and 15 plus. And then lastly, I blew through it because I'm drunk. Around the green, very easy to get up and down from because the rough is not penal. Again, it's dormant Bermuda. Now, sometimes you see, like, if it's a little warmer temperature, sometimes the Bermuda will start growing up. And, like, that makes the golf course look really ugly, by the way, where you have, like, the brown dormant Bermuda, and sometimes you have patches of just bright neon green Bermuda.
Yep. I know. I play golf in Florida in the winter. I know what it looks like.
Looks bad. But generally speaking, though, out of the rough, I think second easiest to get up and down from out of the rough there. Second easiest to get from the fairway. The bunkers, though, are some of the toughest to get out up and down from on the PGA Tour. I mean, like, I'm talking about the same course right now. Pete Dye bunkers. Like,
brutal.
Yeah. Either they're like some of them are like the size of a hula hoop. They're awkward. Pete Dye wants to punish you if you miss in the wrong spot.
Yep.
With these bunkers where they're placed, if you're there, you're probably not getting up and down. That's standard Pete Dye golf right there. So, those are kind of like, overall just how the stadium course plays. I'll get to the relative skill set chart right now. As far as like, we'll move to some of our golf course too. So let's start with the stadium golf course. I put these in my column, by the way, as far as like what traits this usually favors. Stadium course. So there's a positive correlation. Basically, it means that guys who tend to do a little, be better in this category tend to do a little better. So positive correlation, like a pretty heavy positive correlation, driving distance and around the green at the same course, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense intuitively because, a lot of forced layups at the same course. So you're not hitting driver a whole lot. I just mentioned the fact that it's relatively easy to get up and down at the same course. I guess if I'm trying to rationalize all of that, I would say it probably is because where a lot of the optimal layup zones are the same course, if you can access it with an iron or a 3-wood, a little more accurate club, you're at a little better advantage than somebody who has to still hit driver to get to these places that might be a little more inaccurate. Might be that. And around the green, yes, it's really easy, but if you're somebody who's really bad around the green, it's a higher penalty to screw up and make a mistake than somebody who's really good who just could take advantage of it or stuck it close, like basically be automatic.
Right.
Less of a correlation. We could iron play and putting and driving accuracy. The driving accuracy is probably because guys are hitting usually less than driver there. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. Iron play, there's a fair share of shorter approach shots. It could be that. And then putting wise, I just mentioned with the greens, because the overseed runs a little truer. That might help a worse putter who would otherwise do poorly on Bermuda surface. Put him on an overseed where it kind of rolls a little truer, a little slower. Might be a little better. So let's move on. I'm sorry. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So I mean, regardless, what? It's going to be mid-20s, right? Like mid-20s have won this thing. It looks like for
probably low 20s.
Yeah. Like
I don't think there's a weather concern that would keep it, that way. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's been low to mid-20s fucking forever. It looks like basically.
Right.
The highest. 20 under was 2017 with Swafford. And then
Right.
from 2012 on, it's all been like low to high 20s. So
Yeah, so as long as we don't
lots
get
of
like
fucking
wind or
birdies.
anything like that, I think it's gonna be cold next week, but otherwise, I think it's been raining a little bit in Palm Springs too. So that's gonna make the greens a lot softer. Yeah, probably a lot of birdies.
Yeah, it fucking rained all through California. They had no idea what to do.
Right. That screwed me up with my my handicap of the Niners game yesterday because we got some bad weather intel on the Discord.
Yep.
Not great. Don't ever listen to weather from amateurs. All right, including us, by the way.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about the Nicholas Tournament course. So,
Did we already talk
similar
about
to the
this
same
course?
course. I'm sorry, what?
I think we already talked about the Nicholas course.
We're talking about relative skill set chart.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. So positive correlation in driving distance, positive correlation in driving accuracy, positive correlation in iron play, and positive correlation in putting. So I said earlier that's basically a watered down version of the same course where everything's kind of right out in front of you. It still has like off the fairway, you got your water hazard, you got your mogul mounds, you still have your bunkers you don't really want to hit out of. So, but it's wider fairway. So if you're long and straight at the Nicholas Tournament course and you hit your irons really good because you got to score there and you can putt really well, that's a match for you. So hello, John Rahm. That's why you're really good at this tournament because that basically fits you to a T. You just are long and straight and you hit your short irons really good and you putt really well. That shows right here. That's the Nicholas Tournament course. So at this particular venue, unlike the stadium course, short game doesn't really hold a matter a lot because if you're missing greens, like you have to roll in a lot of birdies at this place. If you're missing greens, it's not really for you. But overall driving is more important this place because it is more driver heavy. You have to actually hit that club very well. If you have a good combination of length and accuracy, that's going to put you a huge at the Nicholas Tournament course. So, and then La Quinta. Driving doesn't really matter here just because all the bunkers can be easily carried off the tee for a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys can just hit over the dog legs. But again, very easy golf course. You got to hit a lot of birdies. Positive correlation with good iron players do really well here. Positive correlation with good putters. Again, those are your scoring clubs. You have to score well here. So, so if you're playing showdown, don't worry about off the tee because everybody's kind of on the same playing level. Worry about your iron play, worry about your putting. So overall, I put this in my article. So there's 2 rounds of stadium course, 1 round of La Quinta, 1 round Nicholas Tournament course. I put just in summary for driving distance, accuracy, approach play around the green, putting, just overall like positive correlation, negative correlation. So the only places that actually have like a distinct advantage is longer hitters off the tee or just longer hitters in general and around the green game. Those matter at 3 of the 4 rounds where you're going to be playing at a golf course where that favors you. It is net neutral for accuracy, net neutral for approach play, net neutral for putting. So like that can, if you're good at those areas, that can help you. But if you're not necessarily good at it, as long as you're maybe a longer hitter or you're really good scrambler, or maybe you make up for it with your approach play, you can be okay. But the most important aspects seem to be longer hitters do really good here, and guys who are pretty good scramblers tend to do really well here too.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I like it.
All right. And then, I'm not done.
No, I was going to ask a question, but go ahead.
All right. No, ask a question. Go ahead.
So with the obviously with the 2 rounds at the stadium course, like, what are you factoring in more? Like, obviously on this course, it doesn't matter because you can be long. You want to be long and straight, but since we're playing 2 on the TPC, should we focus more on guys who can club down and put themselves in a good spot?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you're able to club down at PJ West, but you're a longer hitter where, these greens are pretty small too. So if you can have a shorter iron in hand, some of maybe the longer approach shots, they are small greens, some small targets. I think that's why some longer hitters might have an advantage as a stadium course because they can either club down with a more accurate club to get to the best, optimal approach shot landing place, or they can hit a higher lofted club to hit some of these tiny pin positions. I would say that. And I would say not necessarily if you're a really good scrambler, but if you're a really bad scrambler just around the green, I think that's going to put you at a negative position at the stadium course because if you do miss a green, I think the green regulation rate's like only 66%. So 1 in 3 times you have to get up and down.
Yeah.
Because it is so easy overall, unless you're in a bunker, get up and down. If you're really bad at it, that's going to cost you more if you make a mistake than somebody who might be just like above average.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about approach play. The only data we have is from the stadium course. It's not very helpful. There's a lot of shorter par fours and a lot of shots, at least more than the average in PGA Tour under 125. The problem is it only makes about 25% of your overall shots on the golf course. There's a significant less rate of shots between 125 and 150 than PGA Tour average. There's a higher rate from 150 to 175, but a much lower rate from 175 to 200. So again, you're kind of breaking up that range there. And then a slightly higher rate from about 225 plus. So how I break that down is your par fives are basically your shots over 225. So you don't need to worry about that proximity range, because if you just focus on par five scoring, you have that covered right there. So you don't need to bake that into your proximity, rates. I guess that basically means from 175 to 225 is basically a dead zone. Those are below average rates in PGA Tour. So it seems to suggest from the stadium course, anything under 175 is basically optimal. But then you got to factor in the Nicklaus Tournament course and La Quinta. And basically what I look for that, I don't have the exact numbers on hand as far as what ranges they are. But I know the Nicklaus Tournament course, it seems like everything's out in front of you. You can hit driver a lot there. Shortish course. If it's firm, you get some roll out there. I would expect a lot of short approach shots, probably under 150 there. Same thing with La Quinta, short golf course. You can hit driver there. Probably a lot of short approach shots too. I would say focus on everything less than 175 this week. Don't worry about anything else. If you want to go really specific, probably under 150. I say under 175 just because there's 2 rounds at the stadium course, and that has a higher than average rate than PGA Tour average. But this is going to be probably a short approach shot week. We've seen.
Look at Hoagie last year, Answer before that.
Right, or Siwoo Kim, like he's in Sedgefield. He just won at Stoney, like those types of golf courses that they're more.
Hudson Swafford, huh? Twice he's won this fucking thing?
Yeah, then he went to Live.
Unbelievable.
So as far as proximity rates and scoring rates, I would probably focus on at maximum 175 and under. If you really want to go specific, probably 150 and under. That's probably the range you want to focus on. Okay, that's it.
All right, man. Well, what we got? Do we got tomorrow DFS show? We have anybody this week?
We have Matt Gannon on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, so we got Matt for the betting show, and then you're going on Joe's Idoni show this week?
Yes, I am. I'm going to Preferred Lines tomorrow night. Talk about some guys we like for betting, and then I'll be on our DFS show after that, and then we'll talk about betting on Tuesday.
And then I think I'm doing BK show. What night does he do his? He does his on Tuesday?
I don't know. Monday or Tuesday.
I
think he switches it up.
I think it's Tuesday. But either way. Yep. So I'll be on that show. So the Giants win.
Yeah.
Got Steve drunk. Got to talk about grass for like an hour. You should be on fucking.
Yeah, and I still held it together.
And got to be on seventh heaven, man.
Exactly. I almost slurred through half of this stuff, but I hope you guys understood. If you didn't, I have it in written form on the website. Because I basically just read from that tonight.
Did you see that Dan Jones is the first player in the NFL playoffs to throw for 300 yards, have 2 touchdowns, and rush for over 70 yards in playoff history?
His guaranteed money just went up $20 million.
It's funny. So watching the highlights, and so I told you I was driving, picking up food, so I didn't actually see that roughing the passer call.
Okay.
And holy shit! Like the radio guys all said it was terrible, and
it was.
That was bad. That was real bad. That was, hey, we want to extend this game out a little bit. Gross.
Okay. It was, but you know what? Worked out for the Giants, and next week they play the Eagles, and we'll see. Gonna be very contentious on the mothership tonight.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna be good.
Sure.
The mom, dad, stop fighting. You're ruining my birthday. But yeah, all right. Well, fucking back at it this week. Like you said, just kind of gave out that schedule. We'll put together a nice betting card for you this week. I gotta regulate these these placements or the matchups are where I've been doing fine at, and these placements have not been good.
Yeah, no more being cute. No more paying juice.
I wasn't even. I didn't think I was trying to. I was trying to be cute occasionally.
I'm talking about myself. I mean, that's the reason why I've had a loss the last 2 weeks, because I got way too cute and just like, oh, Xander lock, whatever, or Tom Kim lock, whatever. No, I need to get back to my bet and butter, bet plus money, stop being cute.
Yeah,
we'll go from there.
Let's do it. All right. Talk to everybody tomorrow.